Long before smartphones and GPS, in a quiet valley of eastern Tennessee, there lived a salt trader named Hank Miller. Every morning before sunrise, Hank would load burlap sacks of sea salt, dried corn, and denim cloth onto the back of his old mule. Now, Dusty wasn't flashy-no champion stallion with a glossy coat, but he was steady, loyal, and had carried Hank through droughts, floods, and hard winters. The two of them would make their way along the Salt Road, a winding dirt path that crossed Silver Creek on a narrow wooden bridge, slick with morning dew and moss. Those salt sacks, they were heavy as sin. Some days, Dusty's shoulders sagged under the weight, his hooves slipping on the damp planks. Hank would always pat his neck and say, "We'll make it, boy, one step at a time." One foggy Tuesday, as they crossed the bridge, Dusty's front hoof skidded on a wet board. With a startled bray, he tumbled sideways right into the creek. Hank's heart leaped into his throat. But within seconds, Dusty scrambled onto the bank, shaking water from his ears. To Hank's surprise, Dusty didn't look winded at all. In fact, he perked up, almost prancing. The salt sacks, soaked through, had lost most of their weight. The salt had dissolved in the creek, leaving the burlap nearly empty. Dusty just blinked, as if he'd just realized something. Wait a minute, falling in makes the load lighter. The very next day, Hank loaded the usual salt sacks. But halfway across the bridge, Dusty deliberately dipped his shoulder and rolled into the creek on purpose. He came out grinning, as much as a mule can grin, trotting back to the path with ease. Hank frowned, but didn't say a word. It happened again the next day, and the next. By the fourth time, Hank knew Dusty had figured out a shortcut. Hank didn't scold him. Instead, that night, he sat by the wood stove, stirring his coffee, thinking. He remembered his granddaddy's words, "A man who cheats the work cheats himself." So, the next morning, Hank didn't pack salt. He stuffed the sacks with raw cotton light as a feather when dry, but heavy as stone when wet. Dusty, completely unaware, strutted to the bridge like a trickster ready to pull his new favorite move. Right on cue, he slipped and plunged into Silver Creek. But when he tried to climb out, his legs trembled. The cotton had soaked up gallons of water. The load wasn't lighter, it was crushing. He staggered, gasping, barely able to lift his head. Hank walked over slowly, knelt in the mud, and looked Dusty right in the eye. "Son," he said softly, "I knew what you were doing, and I let you learn the hard way." He unstrapped the dripping sacks and let them drop. Shortcuts might feel smart today, but they drown you tomorrow. Hard work ain't a burden, it's what makes you strong. Dusty lowered his head, exhausted and ashamed. Hank didn't punish him. He just led him home, dried his coat with an old barn towel, and gave him an apple. From that day on, Dusty never faked a fall again. Rain or shine, he crossed that bridge with care, shoulders squared, his load borne with a quiet dignity. Years later, when Hank's grandson asked why Dusty was the only mule in the county who never slipped on the Salt Road, Hank just smiled, because he learned that real strength ain't about dodging the weight, he said. It's about carrying it with honor. Dusty lived to be 20th, steady, true. And every spring, wildflowers bloom their white and gold, like salt and sunlight. In a world obsessed with hacks, quick fixes, and working smarter, not harder, this old Appalachian tale reminds us that integrity isn't outdated, it's essential. Cutting corners might lighten your load today, but it erodes your character tomorrow. True resilience isn't avoiding difficulty, it's facing it with honesty, grit, and the quiet courage to do the work day after day. Because in the end, it's not how light your burden is that matters, it's how faithfully you carry it. And sometimes, the deepest wisdom comes not from a boardroom or a podcast, but from an old mule who learned to walk the bridge without looking for a shortcut. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, be sure to follow for more.